Blog Talk Radio.
We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Superhero Academy. This is your host, Crossfire the Crusader, and I'm waiting here for our special visiting professor this week, LUNAR VEIL, who's supposed to be calling in to talk to us about animal rescue. The number, if anybody listening wants to call in, is 917-889-3317. Again, that number is 917-889-3317. All callers are welcome. LUNAR VEIL especially asked everybody to call in because she's a little bit nervous today, and I'm hoping we'll have some callers here in a minute. In the meantime, I'll just kind of catch you up on the new happenings here. So this is going to be a short show. I've got a caller. Hold on. Unknown caller. Who have I got here?
Hey, it's Amazonia.
Amazonia. Hey, how are you doing?
I'm all right. So
very good. Glad to hear. I think LUNAR VEIL might have the time zones messed up again. It gets a little confusing in there.
Yeah, I didn't even realize we were that late already.
It has been a short day for me. I can tell you the things around the old cross cave here have been kind of crazy, but yesterday I did some spontaneous modifications to my motorcycle. Drove it up underneath the truck. And then today, we pendulum swung the other way and found some favor in, and we have a new house that we're moving into. So we're going to have about twice as much room, a really nice place. And that just fell into our lap almost as fast as the truck did. So we're trying to get everything together.
Yeah, I saw that. Congratulations.
Oh, yes, it's going to be nice. A good break and a little more privacy. So looking forward to it. How are things your way? I saw you were taking a little bit of a break.
I'm doing good. Got some stuff going that things might be changing at the end of next month. Other than that.
Hey, I've got a caller. Area code 503.
Hello?
This is area code 503. Who have I got?
Hey, this is LUNAR VEIL.
All right. This is our visiting professor, LUNAR VEIL, everybody. Glad to have got Amazon on the line and myself, and everybody's kind of last minute here. We're kind of sliding into home plate, so we're glad to have you. And you got about 26 minutes to just share with us all your intimate knowledge of animal rescue and wolves and whatever things that you work with here. So those of us that are interested can follow your lead there.
Great. So where to start? Well, I've been doing animal activism and rescuing for several years, and what I'm working on right now is actually a case of a woman who is living just outside of Wilsonville, and she does puppy flipping. She uses selling puppies to support her drug habit, and so I've kind of got a two-in-one case right now. And it's really interesting. It's been complicated to work on. It's mostly just emotionally frustrating. When you have to deal with these kind of things, and you see people who just take animal lives and treat them like they're disposable, it's horrible. And you see the conditions in which they are living, and this person has, broken glass in their backyard. It's completely filthy. It's horrible. I cannot wait to finish working on this case.
I honestly had never heard of I guess it kind of makes sense. I never heard of a puppy mill being tied into a drug dealer or something like that before. So that's,
well, this one is kind of different because, you know, it's not just a puppy mill, it's a puppy flipper, which means that they buy puppies from people, you know, for very cheap, or they get them for free, and then they turn around and they sell them for $200, $500, and they don't really care about them. They treat them horribly while they have them, and in this case, the money has been going for drugs, and it's beyond me why people would do this, you know. It's very frustrating.
I could see where that would be maddening.
Yeah.
How did you doing this anyway? Just kind of give us some heads up there. How did you get involved in the animal rescue work that you do?
I have always had a really big passion for animals. Ever since I was young, I have been very strongly. I've always felt some kind of a connection to animals that I could not explain, and I've never met an animal that's never liked me, and I love them. And so as I grew older, it became frustrating for me because my eyes became open to what happens to them and, you know, how people can treat them. And I began to think, you know, why is it that animals are treated differently from humans? Are we not all life? Why is it all right for, you know, people to abuse animals but not for them to abuse people? Why are there different protections? Why, again, you know, it all comes back down to why is a life not a life? And for me, I have never understood that. I never will.
I had to agree with you. I grew up with animals all around. You can't mistreat them. I mean, you got to take. It's horrible some of the conditions I've seen animals in my lifetime. The way some people treat dogs, cats, whatever like that. Even the some of the kennels and stuff they keep them in, you know, are just terrible. And it's when I see somebody doing the work like you, I trying to make sure the animals are treated properly. You know, that's a good thing. It's a lot better than the few crazies that are out there. Somebody's actually using their head and what they're doing also, you know.
You know, it's part of the reason why I'm vegan. In fact, the one movie that I always recommend for people to watch is King Corn, and that's because King Corn, it really shows you what happens to the animals, you know, that become your food. It shows you what they have to go through. I mean, if you are to buy meat that is organically grown, you know, it should take about 7 to 10 years for the cattle to become completely mature. And in the case of, you know, synthetically grown, I'd say about 80% of your meat these days, they're kept in a very small containment area. They can barely move, and that is the point. And they're fed cheap corn that costs very little to nothing to grow. And it takes them 7 months. But they are very unhealthy. They're very unhappy. It's cruel. It's terrible. And that is one of the reasons why I've become vegan. It just, I cannot support that kind of, you know, behavior. There's no way.
Yeah. If somebody wanted to follow in your footsteps and do what it is that you do, what kind of suggestions would you give? How would you tell them to start? What kind of path to follow?
You know, start by researching the laws in your state regarding animal cruelty. Then you will know basically what you're up against. And it doesn't really help that, you know, there's not that many protections. There's so many cases where, especially when I'm looking at Oregon law, there are exceptions when you could bust somebody, but then there are exceptions for if they do scientific research or if they, it's just so many. I can look it up again really quick, but you know, have a passion for animals, believe in what you're doing, live like you believe in what you're doing. Example, you know, you really support animal lives, you support animal rights, live the lifestyle, you know, go vegan. I mean, it's not necessarily required, I just promote it, but and then, you know, you have to find out where are good tips to get, you know, and you can talk to people like breeders. You can call local humane societies. Those are really great places to start for getting tips and great people to talk to who have great resources, and just do a lot of research. I mean, there's so much good information out there, especially the ASPCA, Humane Society. So many of these places have good resources for you. It's a great place to start. You know, visit mills, call around to places like in in your local newspaper. Call up and go out and visit puppies like you're a prospective buyer. Pretend that you are interested in their puppies and get as much information from these people as possible. And always be prepared to turn them over to the police. I mean, I don't recommend, going contrary to some recent discussion. I don't advocate for going PETA, Animal Liberation Front, and trying to take matters into your own hands like that, unless, it's an urgent situation and there are maybe one or two puppies that really need your help. I've done that a few times, but nothing terrorist-related,
I know one of the things that was suggested to me a while back is that if you want to assist as far as animal control or animal rights type projects, one thing is to look to the local animal shelters, and if you can, donate a bag of feed every week or every couple of weeks, just to help them out with that, or something along that line. It's low-key stuff that you can do. Maybe volunteer to help out over there for free from time to time, especially the no-kill shelters.
With the... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You were going to say something.
I was going to say, one thing to keep in mind about the no-kill shelters is that it's not necessarily that they're no-kill. They give space based on what is available, and they don't take in animals that are not going to be easily adoptable. They reject the animals that are not. And actually, there was something I want to look up really quick. It was an interesting article I came across this morning on no-kill shelters, but give me 1 second here.
Lucyville's done her homework tonight, huh?
Huh?
It sounds like you've done your homework tonight.
Oh,
I appreciate
definitely.
that. You're from Italy, correct?
Certo.
Where?
Oh, yeah, I said yes. I'm from Palermo.
Palermo, okay. My signal kind of broke up there. Yeah, I was actually stationed in Italy for 3.5 years in Gaeta.
Oh, really? Did you learn to speak in Italian?
Poco.
Oh, bene.
Yes, I learned enough to order beer and pizza and catch a cab to the train station. That's about it.
Well, those things can help.
I hear people talk about the Jersey Shore. They talk about people being Guidos, and I know that Guido means driver. And it's like you're a car driver. But not a whole lot. Just a little bit of Italian. Enough to get by, but not conversational.
And a lot of people in Italia, they speak English, and so any effort to learn a local language is always very appreciated. But, so many people speak English.
Tourist town like Gaeta. Especially in the tourist town like Gaeta, it's a lot of English speaking. That's probably one of the reasons I didn't like it much.
All right, here's the information. It's on the Oregon Humane Society. It says there are no time limits placed on how long an animal is available for adoption at the Oregon Humane Society. Animals available for adoption are never euthanized because of space limitations. OHS euthanizes only for significant health or behavior issues and does not take lightly the decision to end a life. Additionally, they also do euthanize animals that would be classified as non-adoptable. Many no-kill shelters are more accurately defined as limited admission facilities. The term no-kill has unfortunately become a marketing tool rather than an honest description of the enormous undertaking of providing care for homeless pets. Some no-kill shelters pick and choose which animals are acceptable for adoption, turning away many others who have a medical or behavioral condition or deemed, according to that shelter's criteria, as unadoptable. Use of such vague, hard-to-define terms and ideals makes it confusing for pet owners trying to obtain services. No-kill does not mean no euthanasia, a key point often lost in this discussion. In the case of true sanctuaries where no euthanasia is practiced, there are painfully few instances where companion animals are maintained in a manner that preserves their physical and mental health. Through effective use of our resources, including foster care volunteers, the Second Chance Program, and volunteer trainers in medical care, OHS can provide rehabilitation for behavioral and medical treatment for many animals, including their chances of finding a home. success is seen every day. For example, when an untrained 9-month-old Labrador Retriever makes it transformed into a well-mannered dog who can sit, stay, heel on command. Even a cat with a severe disability receives a new lease on life thanks to foster volunteer and veterinarian who did not give up on the sightless cat. It's a place for many second chances, and that's another way that you can help is to become a foster parent, for these animals and to dedicate your time to training them and to helping them out. And usually with older animals, the more well-mannered they are, the more they know. It's really sad to say this, but, it makes them more marketable if they have all of these skills and they're more well-mannered. Potty training can be a big thing.
But that's to people, big thing, then you're saying, right? To get them used to being with people is kind of what you're saying then.
Yeah, definitely.
They're more,
it's
more friendly, more like a member of the family than a stray animal.
And that's very true. I mean, as far as animals go, they are a member of your family. I've always considered if you're going to take in an animal, you have to think of it like you're having a baby. You have to make the same preparations. You have to make sure that everyone in your family is on board with it. That is why I strongly advocate against seasonal pet giving, For Valentine's Day, for Easter sometimes, for Christmas, animals are given as gifts, and often they're not wanted, or they're, nobody was prepared to have them, and so what happens is they end up in these shelters, and sometimes a perfectly good life is wasted, especially if they end up in a kill shelter as opposed to a non-kill, and it's very sad, and that is one other thing that you can do is to be responsible in your decision to bring a pet into your life. They're just as dependent on you as any child would be, and they definitely... Oh, sorry?
That's definitely being like a child. Our little Chihuahua, sometimes I call her Dog Zilla, sometimes I call her the Rat, but her name's Tinkerbell. She has her own little day bed. It's a little canopy bed made for dogs, but it's hers. She claimed it. She has her diaper bag, and she has her little dressers and her clothes and her toys, and she is just like any one of our the kids that have ever been through our house, nephews, nieces, and daughters, and all kind of personality. She even has her favorite TV shows.
That's great.
If we try to change the TV and it's something that she likes, she growls and lets us know that's not happening. It's funny.
Yeah, they're very much cognitive beings, and they very much have their preferences, and that's actually another thing to keep in mind. I so many times see people say, I need to find my animal a new home because I am pregnant, because I am moving, because for so many reasons that I'm thinking, I don't understand. Your animal is part of your family. They're cognitive. They're sensitive. They have emotions, believe it or not, and there's always a way. Like, everyone runs into difficult situations with their children. How can they say, why not adopt out your child if you're in a difficult situation? It's always occurred to me like that, but you never see that. You only, sometimes, but you only see, the animal has to go. Well, if you can train it, if you can socialize it, if you can find a place, there's always a resource for places to move into with your pet, and in some instances, you can call it a therapy animal and get a doctor's note and then not have to rehome it. So
yeah, I know we had to leave our dog with my parents for about a month while we moved, and as soon as we could get her moved, we did. But we had to find a place to let us keep her. It just took us just a few weeks to find a place that would let us have the dog before we could move her back in with us, and it was just a joyous reunion. She's been tickled pink ever since, but she stayed with my parents for a while and learned bad habits from them, just like the grandkids.
And now, that's great. I think that your parents definitely, that's wonderful.
Yes. Now, you mentioned to me, and you wanted to talk about wolves also. Now, last night, our neighbors have a pet. It's actually what they've got. It's kind of a red wolf puppy. They were doing some work in the woods, and they found this puppy in a hollow tree. And they adopted it and have been caring for it. And this dog actually knows us because they live in the same building as us. And I last night sat there and sniffed at me and played with me and let me pet it and everything. It's like, this is a wolf, but it's actually a pet. You had mentioned you wanted to talk about wolves also and touch on that.
Definitely, yeah. I studied wolves for, a number of years. And I find a lot of complication in the fact, the debate that is going on right now between farmers and ranchers, and how they're so against wolves because they accuse them of going after their cattle. And most often, in fact, the animals that are guilty of that are coyotes. Wolves don't want anything to do with people. They will stay as far away as possible from humans. They don't like the scent. They don't like. The only reason why they would come around is if they are, desperate. But so they get blamed for a lot of what coyotes do, and even at that, I'm sorry, but animals have less and less land these days because of land development. Where are they supposed to go? And they really get a lot of negative flack. But anyway, back to wolves. Their preferences are, in fact, to go. They'll take down any weak, any sick animal. They rarely take down a healthy one. And they don't just hunt and kill for fun either. And that is another common misconception. I mean, there's so many where wolves are concerned. They're honestly very peaceful creatures that just want to be left to themselves.
It's a very rare case for a wolf to actually interact with humans. I think they call it a rogue when it does like that. Most of the time they're a pack animal, and they do keep to the deep woods away from everybody else. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I could not hear. What did you say?
I said, is that correct? My understanding is that as a general rule, wolves keep in packs away from humans, out deep into the woods, as far away from humankind as possible. But it's the occasional rogue that interacts with, gets closer to the human population and causes any kind of issue. And that's, like I said, that's a very rare situation that one goes rogue and operates solo like that. Is that correct?
Oh, that is very correct, yes. They are definitely pack animals with the pack mentality. They try to stay as far away from humans as possible. Like I said, they don't want any interaction with humanity. They just want to be left to themselves and to live their lives, and they are very much afraid of people. And if you were to run into a wolf in the wild, you would most likely see that they would turn around and run away from you. It wouldn't be like the horror movies where they, jump on you and attack you and eat your guts. That's so inaccurate.
True.
And every time I see that, I think, oh, wow, these people really did not do their homework when they were creating their movie.
Well, they act like that when they're being controlled by a vampire. Everybody knows that. How vampires can't have nothing there around.
Another thing to keep in mind is I worked for a wolf sanctuary for 3 months, and one thing to keep in mind is that wolves do not make good pets. It slays me when I keep reading all of these advertisements and I see wolf hybrid, wolf, the fact of the matter is that, sure, they're great as puppies, but they still have their wild instincts, and eventually those wild instincts are going to come out. And so to keep a wolf as a pet, I mean, some people think that it is cool or whatever, but it's not. It's not a very good idea at all. In fact, that is the most of what we had at the sanctuary were former pets. People who thought, they either escape or they, huh?
Yeah. If somebody has a pet wolf, like my neighbors down here that had found this puppy, and basically it was found and adopted, and they adopted from somebody else because it needed somebody to take care of it, and they just kind of cared for it, fed it, such like that. But they know that it needs to be back in the wild. How do you go about, once it's been semi-tamed, gotten used to humanity, gotten used to being in some sort of civilized environment, how do you go about returning a wolf to the wild? I mean, what kind of steps would you take?
The ones that work with that the most are like the Yellowstone and the Nez Perce people. I have not personally seen that happen very often. In fact, that is the main purpose for the sanctuary. The one that I worked for only took in, we had no breeding program. We only took in wolves that were former pets or that, were so used to humanity, like you're saying, that they could not function in the wild, so they were to live out their life in the sanctuary and be ambassadors for wolves, help people to see what their true nature is and see what they're like. And I've followed a few times a wolf introduction into the wild, and in a few instances I have seen it fail. In a few instances I have seen it very successful, but even in those instances where it was successful, they had to be monitored just to make sure that they're all right. And more often than not, a year or two later, they would be found dead. But, you know, again, there are instances where they're successful, but it takes a lot of work to teach them to function in the wild. And in most cases, it does not work out.
You pampered them by adopting them like that when they're wolf, or part wolf or whatever like that, because you are suppressing some of their natural instincts, but later on those other instincts are going to try and come out. So they're kind of on a losing ground there when you start them out like that. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. That is why I'm so against breeding wolf hybrids, and because people expect, you know, they're going to be great family pets, and what happens when, you know, it goes up and bites little Susie for some reason, and then it has to be put down. It's not the animal's fault. It was.
I'm joking. She was probably asking for it. But,
you know, it's just a matter of. Go ahead.
I've got about 4 minutes left. I appreciate everything you have shared with us and the work you do. I'm really impressed. You should blog more about what you do, because there's just not enough information for some of us about animal rescue out there. Some of us, like me, I've lived in the woods area, you know, the outskirts of a small town most of my life. I lived on a farm. My grandparents had a farm. My parents had a small country farm, and so I've been around animals, and I've always tried to treat animals with respect, even the ones that we were raising for food. You don't abuse them. You know, you treat animals the way you'd want to be treated for the most part. But I see the puppy mills. I don't approve of that. I've seen the dog fighting. You see the people that have like 10s and 20s of dogs, and they're there just so they can throw them in a pit and watch them fight each other. I can't stand that. The crossbreeding with wolves scares me because you're creating more vicious dogs down the road that just causes problems. And of course, it's not the breed of the animal that causes the problem so much as the way the animal's raised. A lot of times, I understand that also. But
a lack of information on the handler's part too. You know, when you get into that kind of a thing, you have to be very well informed. You have to know what you're doing. And so many people think, oh, well, you know, a wolf is a dog. It's going to be just like a dog. No, there is a big difference, and it is very, very. In fact, I would recommend anyone who really is interested in wolves and learning about them. There's a really good book by David Mack, and it's just called Wolves: Behavior, Ecology, and Conservation. It was a good resource for me when I was first getting more in depth with them, and I recommend that people do their research before they even interact with one. Honestly, hybrid, whatever. It's all a matter of education, and if people were to take the time to inform themselves, then a lot of our problems would be solved, instead of, you know, making assumptions and thinking, oh, well, I know dogs, so I know wolves. No, you don't. Not at all.
All right, we've got about a minute left. I want to thank you for being here. Next week, everybody tune in. We're going to have author Kia Krulos talking about his book, Heroes in the Night. We got about 1 minute. I'm going to stay after for just a minute to kind of talk a little bit, kind of wrap things up. Lunar Veil and Amazonia, thank you for calling in. You're welcome to stay for the after show, however long they let us have. And I'm going to go ahead and sign us off with our closing theme. Everybody, thank you for calling in. We'll see you next week at the same cross time, same cross channel. Y'all have a great day, and we will talk to you next week.
Thank you.
We're men in light. We roam around the forest looking for light. We're men in time. We run from the rich and give to the poor, that's right. We may look like cities, but what would you say, or else we'll put after life? We're men in light. Always on guard, defending the people's rights. La 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 la. We're men in tight, tight, tight. come for the men in time. We're Butch.
And there we go. All right, those of you listening to the podcast, we're going to touch base. The next few weeks, I've got some interesting stuff coming up. I already mentioned that Tia Krulos will be here next week talking about his blog and his book, Heroes in the Night. The following week, I am very excited to be welcoming the Tanya Chaos, also a preacher, from the show Who Wants to Be a Superhero. She's going to be talking about her work with elephants in Asia and her environmental activism. The following week, March 13th, we got Amazonia, who is online with us right now, and we're going to be discussing Kitty Genovese Day. And if you don't know about Kitty Genovese, look it up, get real, right, people, because this is the shining, I should not say shining, this is the glaring example of what not to do, people. Apathy allowed this woman to die when she was being attacked for over 4 hours. Is that correct, Amazonia?
Yeah, it was about 3 or 4 hours altogether that the attack took place.
They attacked, they left, they didn't make dinner, they came back and just continued to attack, and nobody even called the police, and it's just horrible. The 20th, I don't have a visiting professor for the 20th of March, but we're going to be talking about the real-life St. Patrick. We've had some fun talking about these the real-life people behind these saints and these holidays. And in March 27th, I have just booked in a friend of mine from my days with Skiffy Town, Kayla, is going to be talking about face painting for ferals, a little program that she does to raise money to help with the feral cat population. They're doing neutering and medical and other care like that. She does face painting conventions and other events to raise money towards that. So we've got some good programs coming up through the end of March. I haven't got anything booked for April yet, but we're going to find some stuff, and we're going to have a good time. Superhero Academy is turning out to be a pretty good thing. And I'm learning a lot, and I hope everybody else is also. Lunar Veil, if there's anything you want to add before the show cuts us off, feel free to take a moment.
Not really. I'm just really grateful for the chance to have it, be able to share these things, and I'm grateful for inviting me to the show, and I definitely will be listening in more often. I think that it's a great resource for people. I think that you're setting up a wide variety of topics for people to learn just various things, things from animals to criminal. I think a good show would be on the criminal law, definitely, unless you've already had that. I'm not sure, but I think that would also make a great topic.
Give you a law on this sometime. I might just do that. I had thought about it. You did a real good job, by the way. I knew you were nervous about this, but you did real good. I'm very pleased with your performance today. You could tell you were nervous. You spoke a little fast, but you did great. I'd love to have you on here again. Next time you have something big going on, let me know. We'll get you scheduled for a show, and we can build that up. Amazonia, I'm looking forward to 2 weeks from now when you get to come in here and put the big boot down and tell everybody not to let Kitty Genovese happen again.
I'm looking forward to it too.
And seriously, I couldn't think of anybody better to bring that big boot to the show. I was really pleased when that day came open and we had a chance to get you for that. So I'm looking forward to that. 2 more weeks, and we're going to have that on there. And I'm going to wear an extra pair of pants. I'm ready for the spanking on this one because I know you're going to let us all know what's not to do.
In fact, I'm double checking up on facts right now. My mistake. It was an hour.
Was it an hour? You know that if it was 10 minutes, it was too long.
Yeah, it was.
The first, I can't imagine.
Yeah, she was attacked 3 or 4. Yeah, it was 3 or 4 times that she was attacked by the same person.
They don't even know why it happened. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually they do know. But I'll leave that till we get to in 2 weeks.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for calling in Amazonia. Thank you for calling in Lunar Veil. I want to thank everybody that's listening or that was listening in the chat room. We had several people in the chat room. Frostbite, the Napu Arsenal. What's the rest of them? Grey Man was there. So many people that didn't call in but did listen in. Levion, you all are what makes this show great. Every person here, like I said, has something to teach, and each of us has something to learn. And that's what makes Superhero Academy work. It's not about me and what I know. It's about you and what you know. It's about what this person knows and that person knows. and we all come together like a big buffet of superhero information to help each other. So that maybe down the road I might encounter a situation where I need knowledge about animal rescue or wolves, and I've got that because I've got LUNAR VEIL as a friend. And I know not to be apathetic because I've got Amazonia teaching me not to have another Kitty Genovese, and that works for all of us, and that's what's going to keep Superhero Academy going. And I thank you all for being a part of it. Hopefully Blog Talk Radio will wake up and let us go back to doing hour-long shows soon. If you listen to the podcast, do send a letter to the president of Blog Talk Radio and let them know the half-hour shows are not working, that you want to see an hour-long show. And also those of you that are going to be part of our Cape Drive, do not forget that we are doing a Cape Drive with Heart Heroes for children that have chronic disease of the heart. For $25, you can sponsor one child and buy them a cape to help them find their inner hero to overcome the difficulties associated with this disease. We are shooting to do 600 capes in the year 2011. 600 is not that big a goal. If 100 of us to do 6 capes, then we can do it. And we've got that many people in this community that could sponsor $25 for 6 capes. So everybody just do your part. Follow the link on the page. And for Superhero Academy and Blog Talk Radio, this is Crossfire the Crusader saying good day, Amazonia, good day, LUNAR VEIL, and good day to everybody else. I'll see you all on the high road. Y'all have a great day, and thank you for calling in.
Yep, you too. Thank you.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Bye, and thank you again.